Hey folks, this is Corey from Bridge Cape Band at 1623 Studios, and we are talking Seine Boat Races regarding St. Peter's Fiesta. We are nearly upon, I believe, the 98th year now that we've celebrated of St. Peter's Fiesta, a tradition brought over from Sicily to Gloucester, Massachusetts. We're working from Streamography Studios in downtown Gloucester on behalf of St. Peter's Fiesta Committee. I am joined today by Mike Mitchell, Alexis Novello, and Rachael Cecilio, Seine Boat rowers for years now, so we really appreciate you having, being here and spending some time with us today to explain the Seine Boat Races. Welcome, welcome.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so right off the bat, for those who don't know what a Seine boat is, can someone please explain what is a Seine boat? And we should say too, we pronounce it's S-E-I-N-E. You might think of the River Seine, but we actually call them Seine boats here. So, Mike, do you want to start with that?
Sure. So, Seine fishing is its own type of fishing, right? Where they have the main boat and they tow a Seine boat out with them. They lay out a huge seine, a net, and the Seine boat historically was rowed around. They brought the seine net around the school of fish, back towards the main boat. And that was the point, really, I guess, but back in the day. And it doesn't really happen too much anymore. You will see every once in a while now in the harbor, motorized.
Oh, really? Was
the last couple of years it's been a little more frequent.
Yeah, so folks, if you can picture like a Crown Royal bag sort of hanging over the side of a rowboat, and but it's a fishing net, and I believe it stays buoyant. There are buoys across the mouth of the netting all the way across, right? Fish go into the net, and then it's literally like a purse zipped up. It's like a Crown Royal bag and then hauled onto the boat.
The guys used to have their forearms, monster forearms, just pulling the seine in, a little more as they went, and they would just put a dip net in and scoop all the whatever it was, whatever bait fish they had or whatever.
Amazing. Pretty cool. Yeah. So how does Seine boat fishing turn into Seine boat racing?
I think the crews got pretty competitive, right? And then they started saying like, we're faster than you guys. Not we're faster than you. And they're trying to do this.
Yeah. Because back in the early days of Fiesta, the Seine boat competition was actually the main attraction as far as the sporting events went for a long time initially.
So we still consider it as the main strategy?
Yeah, 100%.
But these would be basically competing fishing crews from Gloucester coming in and celebrating the holiday, and they would compete against one another, right? So do we know at any point where it sort of comes down to three boats racing, like the race that we're familiar with today?
So I'd have to look at the list. There's a list somewhere of all the champs. I think it was the gondolas. I think it's one of the first crews that was made of like an actual sport, and they started keeping track of it all. And I could be wrong on that. It's like probably the 50s, 60s, the list starts where they started showing the champs and stuff.
Gotcha.
So it was not just a crew. It was like buddies, maybe more buddies from a neighborhood that were friends.
I see.
Got together, put a crew together to beat less fishing crew, more buddies from the neighborhoods. Type thing. Don't quote me on the years.
Yeah. So, all right. So now let's talk about Seine boats today. So what does it consist of? How big are these boats? How many are on a boat? What are the roles for everyone on a Seine boat for a rowing competition? Do you want to start with that, Lex?
So there's 10 rowers, a coach, and a scuttler. Boats are about 3,000 pounds.
Okay.
Oars are about 15 pounds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but they get heavy out there.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. And so how long is the course? And so it's sort of talk us through a race now. So we have three of these boats, the Nina, Pinta, Santa Maria, right? It was sort of in the same boats for ages, right? And they're brought out to Pavilion Beach, right next to where the greasy pole is lined up essentially. And then I guess explain what is the course?
Can we take that? You line up kind of inside the greasy pole. You'll see on days when it's real competitive and maybe a little windy that the coaches will sit there, and one will put their hand up and the next one, and sometimes it takes a few times, maybe a restart on that. But once all three coaches' hands are up, the race has started. So, and that's a lot of sitting there as a rower, like shaking your hands, you're like, please start, please start. I feel like as soon as you hit past the greasy pole, you really get into the groove of it and like hit that stroke. And then you're out past 10-Pound Island around the flag, and back in. And same thing when you hit the greasy pole on the way in, it's the greasy pole shuffle and you're giving it your all, because usually those races are close and you can win just inside that little area.
So how far are you going out?
Half a mile out.
It's half a mile out, half a mile in, right? And how does the conditions, how do they affect the race? Whether it's the tide, the weather, choppy seas, how does that all play a part?
It's big.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather row. I'd rather row in perfect conditions every time, obviously, right? And then if you're in the blue lane, the flags go, if you're looking out red, white, blue. If you're in the blue lane, you get less protection from the breakwater and in the elements, right? So if I don't like being in the blue flag, because I just think, every time you're fighting everything else.
You get the current from the bridge.
Yeah.
But the beach also, the sandbar on the beach also hits, it would be the red lane, right? Is it blue, white, red the closest to the bridge?
And I think I think the angle of the beach kind of isn't perfect to the flags. So I think you shoot towards, don't quote me on that, I think you shoot towards, right? Closer to the
Red and
greasy
white.
pole, right?
Yeah, there are some scuttlers that can find that sweet spot on that blue lane that the beach supposedly comes up a little further. I don't know that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think the scuttlers, at least mine, prefers the red flag. But
Oh, well, so what goes into the event? Like, when does training begin? Because it's not like Gloucester High School has like a rowing team, right? I mean, you're sort of doing this for the love of Fiesta and the tradition behind it. So I guess an easier question might be, what got you involved and why? Well, I'll start with you, Rach.
yeah, so my mom and dad both rowed. My mom was part of the infamous story where they told women they should be home in the kitchen, and they adorned some aprons and walked into the St. Peter's Club with number 10 tomato cans to hand to the bartender that was the one who said it. And I rowed in the very first all-girl junior girls women's race, so that's awesome. That was in 2003, I believe. And I've been rowing it since, so it's very about family and tradition for me.
Yeah. How about you, Alexis?
My family's been involved for at least 50 years. Dad.
Mr. Fiesta.
My dad has
So Father Joe, yep.
13 or 14 Sunday wins. He rode with my brother. I've never been in a boat with him. I'm newer to the game. I started in 2017. But I have won the same year my dad won. We were both coaches, so it was just special to be involved in what my dad grew up doing.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can carry it on.
Yeah, very cool. Me and Mike.
My dad rowed since he was a little kid. So when I was like 12, I started rowing because I just wanted to do what he did.
Yeah. So, well, what does it mean to you to compete?
I mean, approaching 40 is the last thing that I have to do that's a competitive. Last thing that I have that's like competitive edge. So I like it,
Yeah.
Gives me something to do.
Is that what it is? How about the camaraderie and all that?
Yeah. I mean, I row with all my best friends. So,
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. How about you, Alexis? What's it mean to you to be able to participate?
Like you said, like just being together, your friends. I've met awesome people along the way. Like I said, I'm new to it, but I've met people that I wouldn't ever think I'd be friends with. Just seeing them around town. You're on a boat together. It's a hard 4 or 5 days, but it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Rachel?
I follow that too. Like my team has become kind of my family. Like we're all supporting each other. We get together in the off season. It really is becomes a family sport.
Yeah. So now I think even most people from here sort of think of the Seine Boat Races as it kind of goes on the 3 days around the greasy pole, before and after the greasy pole, right? Because it has, but there's really a lot more to that. So let's talk about the training regimen, like when that starts for everyone, and then I guess the preliminary races or elimination races leading up to the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of Fiesta. Whoever wants to grab that one can. Like, so I guess training, when do you guys actually start getting ready for this or putting a team together?
So as you get older, it gets a little hotter, obviously, right? But you try to stay in some kind of shape over the course of the year, anyways. At least so in the springtime, they can torque it up a little bit, make sure I'm ready to go. It is getting hotter as I get older, though, for sure.
Yeah. So when will you guys begin?
I was in the dory today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
And they're accessible?
Yeah. Yep.
How about you, Alex?
I mean, I'm in the gym year round. I'm in a dory like 9 months out of the year. But start putting the team together, start reaching out to everyone. I usually do about January, February, just see where everyone's at. Just these are the dates. Can you make it?
Yeah.
And get in the gym, work on your cardio.
Mm-hmm. Rach, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely starts around January, February for sure. I start to hear from the women's teams around. I organize the women's and junior women's teams, so I start to hear a little bit of rumbling about, is there a spot for us, or I'm looking for a coach, or this or that. So I think it's probably about that time for everybody. And it used to just be 4 practices and then you'd race. Thankfully, the women have been so supportive of the boats and raising money, and Joe Novello is once again the hero. He gives us a few extra days, which is really good for the juniors that are getting started to be able to have, they're tiny, they're rowing the same boats, the same oars that we have. So it's super helpful that we've gotten a little bit of an extension the past few years.
Yeah. And how young are the junior rowers?
I think you have to be 14.
Okay.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I had some 7th grade boys was the youngest I coached, and they were, they're they will. They're all good. They all row together, but they're tiny.
Mhm.
So
when you're training and practicing, are you doing that? Like, are you actually doing the course, or are you just going across the harbor? Like, what are you doing?
No, you do.
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. First practice might be a little working out the tweaks and
First couple.
and then after that, it's line up. It's a race. You gotta make sure you can make it out and back.
Yeah. So, like, is it easy to put a team together now? I mean, I knew there were for years, like, we were sort of hurting for junior rowers, and now there's definitely been an uptick in that. It almost feels like it was the female rowers who kind of spurred that on. Like, there were a lot, like, the junior, girls teams. There were more of them than the boys even. So to see that happen was a really cool development, I thought.
yeah, Cindy Perry and Caitlin Shimataro. I know she's married now, so that's not her last name anymore. But they've done a really good job both being involved in the schools and making sure that the kids are getting involved, which keeps it alive because that they stay together, they move up, and they're gonna be great. So
Yeah.
it's awesome to see.
Yeah. So, like, I guess, like, we sort of touched on it earlier, but just to go over it again, were there people that you sort of looked up to or emulated, or is like that person's a legend, or I want to do what that person's doing, or try to row that certain way, as you started getting used to being in the dories? Did that?
I mean, I watched my dad for a long time. My dad won it, multiple times. But Dave Levier's father, Dave Levier Sr., is my father's first cousin, so they're close. I watched those guys, but I watched like Vito Gigaloni, Mike Morrissey, like those guys. I watched those guys for years, and it was always somebody, someone from that group was in the altar every year.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Her dad coached, was in the altar every other year as a coach for forever.
Yeah.
So there's, I look at those guys and I just think that's why I want to do it.
Yeah. How about you, Alexa? I mean, obviously your father.
I'd say look up to my dad, my brother. They rowed together. I think it'd be cool to be in a boat with my dad and win someday. Probably won't happen, but as long as I can follow in his footsteps.
Yeah. Very cool. How about you, Rich?
Definitely my mom and my Aunt Julie, who now coaches my team. And then other than that, I would say Tammy Cominelli, who's my mom's cousin.
Yeah.
I sit in her seat, so I filled in for them one day, and I really like that lead stroke on the turn side. So been there ever since.
Well, I think that's a cool thing to bring up too. So for those who are trying to picture this, and they can picture 10 in a boat, I guess sort of, can you explain the positions maybe and what's important and why? Like, how does this all, how does that all sort of play out?
So your lead strokes, probably your best rowers, right? Best overall rowers, probably.
And they'll be at the bow of the boat?
Or they'll be at the stern.
At the stern, okay.
Stroke, they set the pace of the race, right?
Okay.
They got to be together, right? And then your second seat guys are usually good rowers, taller guys as well. Engine room is probably where you put it's the longest stroke in the boat, right? So, like, I'm a bigger guy. I don't really fit in many other places in the boat, so I usually have to sit in the engine room. So I'm an engine room guy. They say you want to put your power in the engine room, right? Generally, your shorter guys go to the bow because it's the shortest seat in the boat. You're up high, the seat. I haven't sat in it. My dad rowed bow for a long time. He said it's an art all on its own because you're sitting so high out of the water compared to the other seats. You really got to reach for water and try to follow the other guys at the same time.
Right.
So that's always just been said that it's an art on its own to be a bow guy. And you got to feather stop
Bow's
like,
tough.
if you want to explain feathering.
I've sat in the bow for a few years. So feathering is when you line it up at the race and you don't want the boat to be completely at a dead stop. So your back two stay together and you have to stay together and you just take little strokes just to keep that boat,
Yeah.
just so you're not getting pushed back to the beach. You want to stay get a little move.
A little forward momentum.
Right. So essentially, yeah. So if folks aren't familiar with this at all, it's not like a horse race where everyone's at a gate or on a foot race where you're stop and then you go. Obviously, you're in water, and so there's a lot of gamesmanship as far as like all the the boats trying to get positioned side by side. And this is what we're talking about with feathering because there's a lot of gamesmanship and a lot of false starts.
Yeah.
But you just remember every coach trying to get that.
That 1 inch.
I just picture her father. I rode with I won 4 times with her father at Chaos. Yeah, and I can when your dad got somebody, like we got him, like it was such a good feeling because like jump the
Right.
Joe knows we're already in the league.
Yeah.
It's the
You get that little jump and it fires you up.
Yeah. All right. So let's literally talk pace by pace through a race now. So, okay, we're all feathering, right? And then what happens? One coach is like, we're good to go. Like everyone's ready.
People think the guy on the beach with the hat is not the race.
No.
That is the most. I'm like, I feel bad. That's the most irrelevant person. Is that 3 coaches start the race? The middle, usually the last. It's the last coach that puts his hand up or her hands up. It could be the outside boat technically, but usually it falls to be the middle coach.
Yeah,
when they put their hand up.
So when a boat's ready, a coach puts their arms up, then the second boat will.
2 coaches have their hands up, but the third coach is looking or whatever, and then he'll throw his hands up and say go at the same time.
Yeah, that's a strategy in itself right there.
Yeah.
And for the confidence to be like, this is really,
Because they're waiting on you, and you're like, as soon as I go, like I tell my crew, like as soon as you see my hands go up, I don't want to have to say go, and they know. Like,
oh, right.
So
Yeah. So there's gamesmanship. Are there any like deliberate false starts just to like, oh, we didn't have the minute here, or
there's for sure some when you get to the finals, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now the race is underway. So let's talk about those first few strokes and trying to find that rhythm within the dory. What is how does that come to be?
It's like 15, 20 hard strokes to get the boat moving. Right, and then you settle into your stroke. That's when your leaders have to realize the boat's moving. We got to jump. Time to settle in, and they set the pace. And then you get into your race stroke, and then you make your move. You probably will settle in, make a few moves, maybe to the pin, the flag, and then they'll call for like however many strokes. Depending on where you're on the race, they'll call and say we need X amount of strokes to the pin.
So that's it. So who's calling and what specific instructions are you guys?
The coach will say, I need 20 to the pin or whatever. And then usually the way we do it is Vito will say to Joe Bello, the boat's yours, you call the turn. So Joe will call the turn, the scuttler.
Okay. And so on your way out to the flag before you make that turn, what are you doing? Is it just trying to find rhythm with teammates? And I guess the big job is trying to find a path. So when you do get to that turn, to really curl around that pin as close as you possibly can.
There's all different techniques for that. Every scuttler's got a different opinion on how to do that.
Yeah. And does that change with the conditions as well? If it's really windy or
it could. Yeah, I think it could. Yeah, right.
It's windy, choppy. You might want to go a little wide so you'll hit it.
Mm-hmm. So now what's going through your minds in that initial rush out to the flag?
It feels like forever. Yeah, it really does. I can only say like when my coach is like, oh, we're at 50. I'm like, what? We're only that far? And it honestly feels like you're in a snow globe. Like you're just like in this weird element and you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. There's no way I'm going to make it. And usually we hit the flag and I'm like, okay, phew. But then
right?
then you're like halfway back, you're still like, oh, this, like if you're in the lead, it's a whole different ball game. Like,
why do you say that?
Adrenaline.
Yeah, adrenaline, and you can see, like, you're not supposed to look outside the boat. So if you're in the lead, if you're in the lead, you can see. I mean, if you're behind, you can't see anybody. So you're like, oh, where am I? What's going on? And then my technique, as I said, I row lead stroke, is like if I'm ahead, I just keep the stroke of the boat that's in second place. They're never going to catch us, so they can't. And that's just been kind of mine. I tell the girls all the time, like, get me out in front. So
How about you, Alexis? Like, what's going through your mind as you're making your way out to the pin?
As a rower, I was basically like, Rachel, are we there yet? Where's this flag? You're telling me 50 yards. It's the longest 50 yards of my life.
So even though you've been training, you've done it a bunch, it's still one.
It's different. It's this. I feel like there's really nothing to do to actually train for a race anyway. As a coach, which I love to do with the junior girls who are now moving to seniors, I just try to talk to them, let them know where we are, because as a rower, I was always like, where are we? Like,
It helps. It helps.
yeah, like keep them focused, keep your head in the boat. Don't worry about where we are. I'll let you know where we are. I'll let you know where the other boats are. So just gotta talk to them, let them know what's going on.
Yeah.
Keep them in focus.
Very cool. Okay, so now preparing for the turn. What goes into that?
So the turn you got the turn side. Obviously, turn the misconception is the scuttler turns the boat. The scuttler angles you into the pin and gives you 2, 3. They do one hard stroke over. Some people do like 2, 3 pumps. Some people don't. They just go hard over and let it work on its own. Once that scuttler's maxed out, whatever they do, the rowers take over and have to turn the boat around.
Okay.
Right, so the turn side keeps rowing. Short job, not short job, like jabs, kind of like jabs in the water, and then the non-turn side stops rowing. Depending on who's the scuttler, they'll have 1 or 2 people hold water, right, and that'll create drag on the stern of the boat and allow the bow to pivot around faster.
I see. So I guess, what does it take to pull off a clean turn? What goes into a clean turn? Is it communication? Is it rhythm?
I would say rhythm, speed.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. I think your scuttler puts you in the right position. I mean, I've had ocean tours before, so that's not fun. So, getting us to, like Mike said, in that first position to be able to turn the boat. I mean, if you're way over or if you come too close to it, that turn's going to be wide, and those flags are really close together. So, I mean, I've been hit. I've also been in a boat where I've gotten hit. So it's tough, but I think, as long as you're together, the turn side has to really be together, because it's pivotal. It's like, maybe, I mean, if you get around in 5 to 7 strokes, that's gold. So it's like, there's not much room for a mishap to happen.
Yeah.
You really don't have that time to make up.
So now I wonder is this part of the race now from, let's say halfway home, from making the turn to halfway home, is that kind of like the heartbreak hill of the Boston Marathon? Where it's like,
why am I doing this? Yeah, and then you get to that halfway point home, and you're like, all right, I can get it from here. But there's that point every year where you make the turn, you're heading home, and you're like, why do I do this? Yeah. And then you have to get out of that and be like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Well, how do you dig yourself out of that to keep stability team out?
Right, for the greasy pole shuffle, and you get there and you just give it everything you have.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of I talk to myself in that. I'm like, you have it, dig down. Yeah, it's definitely a mental game from that point on, for sure.
Like teammates do.
I act like up help in heaven. I'm like, send help.
And for some reason, I keep thinking of, if you watch any like track meet or a swim meet or even the horse racing, we're like, the jockey's going crazy when it's like down the stretch. Like, are you getting amped up from the coach spurring you on? Like, what instructions are you yelling at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, you want to amp them up. I mean, especially if it's a close race. Like, we've had a close race in junior girls, and you just want to amp them up, like keep them together, which is hard when you're freaking out because comes down to a seat, 2 seats, if that.
Yeah, right.
We lost by a foot left.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a mesh of yelling and getting excited, but keeping them together. Especially younger, in the years that I've done it, I've seen my team, especially junior girls, get all oh my God, and freak out. You really got to stay in it and stay together, because that's what's going to get you there. So not getting too excited, but it's definitely different. It's a different game if you're ahead. It's so much easier to row when you're in first. When you're behind and you're just pushing and pushing, you're like, really, once again, why do I do this? I can't.
Well, what would it take to make up time or ground at that point? Is it an error from the leading team, or what?
You need to have them. You either need to make a move on them, right? So we call them bullets, right? So the coach will pull shoot a bullet and say, I need 10 here, or I need 5 or 10 or whatever, and they'll say, give me 10 here. You put a move on, and then they'll say, we gained a 2 seats, or we gained whatever.
Hopefully your competition's getting tired by that. Is that really it? That's how you're going to get it.
Yeah, try to make a little move every bullet, right? And see if they try to match your bullets. And, usually you try to be quiet, say, I need 10 here. See, if you scream, I need 10 here, the other coach, they go, well, I need 10.
Yeah,
And they match it.
Travel.
Right.
I gotcha. So, okay, so Rach, you mentioned, the greasy pole shuffle. So when that comes into your periphery, right, is like, so now it's the home stretch. Can you hear the crowd at any point? You can. So you're hearing the flotilla of, obviously by the pole, you can hear them, but you can really hear everybody back at the beach and the boulevard and everything?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, the announcer, I mean, it's great to hear, like, coming at the beach first, backlash, like, you're like, oh, thank the Lord. But yeah, it's your coach will say it too, like, it's greasy pole shuffle time, like, it's a thing. Everybody,
Look good.
yeah, exactly. You want to look good coming into the beach. You want to hit the beach hard because that's the finish line. So yeah,
And it's still competitive.
so exciting.
The 1 year we really had a big lead to win on Sunday, we were still all like, let's pour it on. Let's just make him,
Yep.
let's embarrass him. Let's go. Let's do this. You know what I mean? So it's, no matter what, even when it isn't, you still want to be that much better. You want to just make them feel it even more.
Yeah. And you've all won before, right? And so, and the winning team is the first to reach the beach, essentially, right? Okay. And so I guess, so you land, you've have it won. What's that initial feeling, that euphoric feeling once you reach the beach? Was that with you, Alexis?
I've never won as a rower. I won as a coach. And I think now that I look back, I'm like, I think I would have felt better winning as a coach. Like, I was so happy for those girls. Like, I was so proud of them. Like, they're young, they're still in high school. Just, they gave everything we asked for, and I was so happy to see them win. But it's a good feeling. I mean, I've lost many races, and we still celebrate just as hard because
I've seen you.
I mean, it's fun. We all go in the club after, where all the teams are together, win or lose. You just have a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure winning as a rower feels amazing. But I really enjoyed winning as a coach.
Yeah, that's nice to say. How about you, Rachel?
I can say, as maybe not as good as my first time winning ever, but winning as a coach in 2022 I cried, and I don't think I've ever cried from rowing. It's the same thing. I had those girls since they were young. Like, watching them grow up and get better and keep trying is just it's unbelievable. You're so happy for them. As a rower, it is an unbelievable feeling. It's different because it's like it's more everywhere yourself, as opposed to like, oh, I helped these girls win. So yeah, I mean, I've lost some of my voices some years, and had like the Fiesta flu a few times.
It happens to the way.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time. It's awesome. It's just, and like I said, it's all about tradition and family, and so being able to do that. But like Alexis said, I mean, we still have fun. We go in there. Like last year, I think for the women's, we've seen the same teams win over and over. Especially when I moved into women's, Audacious was on their run. And then it's kind of been us and Rogue and Backlash. And sorry, I should say us as Backlash and Rogue. So people are like, I want to see someone else win. And I think I might have been screaming the loudest on the beach last year when Power War won. So it's really good. Like, it's just exciting no matter who wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a crazy feeling to be the one winning.
That's a cool point too. So yeah, Mike, do you feel that too? Like, what's awesome as an observer is you all land at the beach. Of course, it's all hugs and high fives for everybody within your crew. But then you're immediately going, like, the other crews are getting thanked, like, because everyone's friends or family are here anyway. So yeah, I guess just talk us through that. Like, what's that like? Like, you're going up against buddies or relatives in a lot of cases.
It's like, it gets like testy and stuff for sure, right? Sure. Yeah, and although I love everybody else in the boats, it gets, you want to beat those guys. You do, you're right, you do. But I try to be, even if I lose, I try to be the first guy to be on the boat, always, right? And I notice who is the first person when I win to come to my boat. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I take notice of that. I try to be the person that goes over, and usually it's like my cousins or whoever else. So it's like, sure, like, so it's not that hard, but
yeah, but still.
Everyone's friends after. It's like leading up, you're all like, oh, I just want to win. But then over, it's over. I mean,
Those guys want to beat us real bad, and we want to beat them real bad.
exactly.
It's something I definitely try to instill in my juniors, though. Like to start that tradition early is like I don't care what you do. If you get your shoes on, whatever, get out of the boat and say congratulations. So yeah, that's very important. And like Mike said, we might not be friends like the week of or thing up to, but we'll all drink in the club together after for sure.
Yeah. So, and I do think it's a key point to point out too. What do you win for winning the race?
But you call it champ for the year.
Right? This bragging.
The champ, all those wages.
Yeah.
But yeah, you win bragging rights and a case of beer at the St. Peter's Club.
Yeah, and of course all like the folklore and the busting shops and all that, and all that's really
Is on the trophies.
yeah.
It's really you getting the trophy with your dad.
Yeah.
Your dad's in the trophies in 20. They'd say pull some of those plaques off, but when I first started winning, it was cool because I'd be on the same trophy and my dad would be on the one from 1993. The plaque down below, and I'd be up here or whatever. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, it was really awesome, like, because I've been covering it for a bunch of years now, but last year was the first time we had drone coverage live for the races. And to see how tight these races really are is amazing. Now, first, like, it was cool just to get that angle and see the beautiful water. Then you see, like, the flotilla, the greasy flotilla. Like, you see the thousands and thousands of people from Pavilion Beach to the Boulevard back on Commercial Street.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And we're trying to find a way to actually track the rowers, maybe have a second drone to maybe follow you to come in just to really be inside, that journey with you. But I don't think people realize like how tight these races really get.
Exciting it is.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah.
And you just don't see it from the beach. You see the start is really exciting. And then you go, oh, the turn. And then
Right.
for 4 more minutes, you go, all right, well, wait, and it gets exciting for a minute. But it's so, if you're on a boat side too, it is, we know because we're in there, but it's the most exciting thing you can watch.
You hear the other team, like you can hear their pins hit if they're that close. It's
Coaches are talking smack to each other.
yeah.
Well, and I'm hoping like coverage like that sort of gives the event its just due because it's an easier way for people to see it. Like sometimes, especially if it's foggy or something, it's hard to follow the turn and when they're coming back. And the race is anywhere from like 12 to 15 minutes long, depending on like
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be a while out there too. So I thought it was awesome to see everyone's reaction. What was really cool to me last year, where you felt like something changed, was we covered the Friday races, had the drone footage. Saturday's races were really tight, and literally as soon as the first crew landed, it was very tight. They looked at us and was like, "What's the relay say?
Yeah.
Look at the drone. What was it?"
Yeah.
We're thinking that too.
Yeah.
That's when we hit the beach.
And so it was one time that we had the drone on the day before, and instantly, like, it sort of changed things. And then we heard from everybody after, like, I never got to really understand what went into the Seine Boat races until seeing it covered like
I'll
that.
tell you what, you know when you lose. Like we lost by probably a foot last year.
Yeah.
But I knew we lost.
Yeah.
You know, really? You know what you are, elation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel, I can like feel who's in my seat in the other boat, and I can feel if I'm up with my peripheral on that person or not. So you like kind of know where you're at with your peripheral.
So that's interesting. So even like we talked about the beach, where by the red course,
I could just, I felt like I had the feeling that we lost, right? And then like I think we all kind of did. And then you think, oh, we got to play it anyways. So I'll throw our hands up. I'm like, so because you think maybe someone will say we won.
Sure, yeah.
But I knew we lost.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so I guess I want to ask what would you want someone from outside the area, what would you want them to know about the Seine Boat races and what it sort of means to the event? For someone who hasn't come and check things out, or even for someone who's been here and sort of watched from a distance and hasn't really paid attention, they kind of know what goes on around the greasy pole. Like, what do you want to tell that person, like what they're missing out on and what they can get from it?
I think people don't realize how serious we take it.
Yeah.
Like, I think people think, oh, it's a cute little boat race or whatever. The boats are cool looking, but we take it pretty serious, and it's like we think that, I think we all, the three of us, look at it as like continuing a tradition, right? And it's important to us to keep the tradition going, So I think for me, it's tradition and
The history of it,
Right.
where it started and where it is now. They obviously make a race out of it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's for bragging rights, but it's not easy.
Right. Oh, no. Yeah, I think that's awesome. And what's funny is whether you're talking to a rower or a walker, you all have encyclopedic knowledge of the history. Like, right, I know who won on Friday in this race and who walked on that Sunday and won that day. Like, those conversations never stop.
Yeah.
You know,
my advice would be come down the dock if you want to see what it's all about.
True.
The week before, I mean, Alexis and I like live down there because we coach and row on a couple teams. But it's like between taping in your pillow, fixing your footboards, like it's a whole thing. You have to get there. You know, if you have a 5 a.m. practice, you're there at 4:30, making sure the boat, like, yeah, and this is in the morning because the women in gym is practice in the morning, and just getting the boat ready to go practice, and you only have an hour to get out there and get back. So it's not like you can just do whatever you want, take your time. It's a whole thing, and we now keep the oars in the boat for the week. So it's like if you get stuck with a bad oar for the week, it's painful. It's your punishment. You're like, what did I do to deserve this?
well, what makes an oar a bad oar?
Oh,
Banana. Like, it's
yeah.
just got to be straight.
Yeah.
Some of them are heavier, even though they say they're all the same weight.
Right.
Yeah. Some have cracks and they've been fixed. Some are bowed. There's all sorts of things. The handles, like, yeah, handle size matters. So some people like it a little thicker, some like it thinner. Sometimes they've the medical tape on there or like the grip tape, and then you're getting your hands all cut up. There's a lot.
If you get a bad order, you realize it. Like,
yeah.
in warm-ups.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a horrible feeling because you know you got to be fighting the whole race.
Yes.
And you just know right away you got a bad order.
Yep.
You know, interesting.
So now when there are fundraisers around the event too, right? When there's a specific one for the same boat races, what does that go towards? Is it like equipment repair?
Yeah, it's like boat upkeep. We you guys raised a ton of money 4 or 5 years ago, but during COVID, was it?
Yeah, I think we started it right before COVID, and then there was no Fiesta for 2 years. But they just put in about 60,000 redoing the 3 boats, making them all even in weight, fixing everything, new holes to pump out water. Each oar, which they try to buy, I think 6 a year, they're about $600 for one.
Oh, wow.
There's less and less oar makers around now.
Yeah, so you have to go up to Orono, Maine,
Oh, really?
and then get them shipped here, or
Hmm.
they try to keep it up. And
Yeah. So are the boats and the oars all wooden?
No, the boats are fiberglass.
Okay.
Now.
Now, y'all wait, we got the wood boats, or the fiberglass boats, and what do you say, 06? I don't think I ever rode seniors in the wooden boats. I rode juniors in the old wooden boats.
Yeah.
On the seniors.
Same.
Right.
Okay, so I guess a couple other things I wanted to touch upon. One is for those who may get confused with the schedule of events when they see the actual finals and all that stuff, the preliminaries, like when does that happen? Because that's usually sort of under the radar. Then you find out, okay, here are your final races,
right.
but here's what happened leading up to it. So what does lead up to it? How does that all play out?
The senior women used to have eliminations on Wednesday, but thankfully we have grown out of that a little bit. So we have so many women's teams that we can't fit them on Wednesday anymore. So we row the Sunday before Fiesta even starts. So I think it's like the 20th maybe this year. But yeah, so we eliminations on that Sunday. And then we're now, I think, I'll know June 3rd officially, but I think we're going to have enough people that we will have eliminations on Wednesday, a second elimination now for women's senior women, which is fantastic. And we've never done that before. So that would then fill our space that we were back in on Wednesday. And then would have our finals on Friday.
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking. It's like, how do you whittle down
Yep.
to the three finalists essentially, right? And so then, Alexis, can you tell us what happens like Friday, Saturday, Sunday? What are those races and why? Like,
So Friday woman, it's their final race. And woman and junior woman. Saturday is eliminations for men and junior men, and then Sunday's their final.
Yeah.
Champs always take that. The champs move on to just a Sunday.
By the Sunday.
Right. So what's interesting too is I remember talking to a lot of people last year. And Nikki Parisi was doing coverage with us too, and because people watching from outside the area were asking, why aren't women rowing on Sunday, like championship Sunday, so to speak? But a lot of the response we got was like, well, the women kind of want to have their own day.
Yeah.
So can you just explain that to me as well? And Friday is that day?
Yeah.
Friday, yeah.
So, okay. So why is it important do you think?
Because they get to enjoy Fiesta.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And
Yeah.
I've talked to a few of my friends that have rowed on Friday, and I was like, would you ever want to row on Sunday? Because it's like Fiesta Sunday, like the big day. And a lot of them were like, no, we would rather just row and enjoy the fiesta. You don't have to wake up in the morning. You don't have to get a good night's sleep. You're done.
Huh.
Friday's done.
And we have to go out on like Friday
Right.
and Saturday, and the guys from your crew looking at you like, is he having a drink?
Right. That better be water.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna want one of these. Let me buy you around. Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely been asked, and I'm a stickler for staying on Friday. I like it, so it's our own day, and like Alexis said, we have the whole weekend,
Yeah.
and I get to be a champ during Fiesta
Right.
that same year. I don't have to wait till the next year for people to call me champ. So yeah, it's nice.
Okay. So going into this year's Fiesta, what are you doing? Like, I'm going to ask each of you, what are you doing? What crew are you a part of? What role are you playing? What can we expect from you this year?
I am moving up to senior women with my junior girls who are now seniors.
Mm.
They won 2 in a row. They have one chance to repeat. We repeated in 24 and 1. So they have to move up to senior, so I will be coaching them.
Okay. Rach?
I am still in Backlash. 20 something years of us. The last one we had was 2022, so we're hungry. We're excited. Knowing that we have to row in the first 2 eliminations now that women's have had is a little disheartening, but it just gives us that edge. I think if you don't row in an elimination, it can be hard to repeat at least in senior women's. It gives you that little bit of extra edge. You've had that practice race. We'll see how 2 eliminations does, but we're excited.
And Mike, what are you doing this year?
I hope I'm still in the merger.
Yeah. Never know, right?
So we won in 2016 and 2019. So then we lost a couple years of COVID. You know, we were the defending champs through COVID. So we're the three-year undefeated champs.
Yeah.
And we lost coming out of COVID. We lost, and then we haven't won since. So
Yeah.
that's what happens this year. Playing foot last year. That's what happens.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Great stuff. Okay. Lastly, if somebody out there wants to get involved in rowing or the same boat races in any way, how can they go about doing that?
I'd reach out to the Dory committee and just start getting in the Dory and try to get in the same boat crew. You know, if you want to get a kid involved, I try to get. I know it's tough. You have to reach out to someone you know that's involved in the community. They can reach out to any one of us.
Okay.
And
Here's that.
We'll help you out.
June 5th is a Thursday at 6:30 at the St. Peter's Club, our sign up. So if you want to row, you know someone that wants to row, come down. There might be a team that'll pick you up. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have experience. It might be a team that has enough people. It might not have a coach, or
Right.
has 8 people. They need 2 more, and 2 people walk in. I would just say come down.
Yeah.
You're not going to lose out. So
Well, and I guess what would you say to someone who's thinking about rowing for the first time and hasn't? You have to try, like, to convince them, like, tell them what they want to be a part of. What would you say to that person?
I say there's no pressure to come on and try it. I mean, it's if you come out of the mindset that you just want to give it a shot, it's no pressure. And then
tradition, join into one of Gloucester's longest traditions, biggest traditions.
it's a lot of fun.
Kick off to the summer.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, come down the docks. Like I said, the week before, we'll all be down there. I also started a Facebook group for it's Gloucester Women's Rowing Community. And so it's once again for dories and same boats, but it's kind of like a little bit easier of an input. In Same Boat Intel is the big Facebook group that can get a little overwhelming with some of the birds that chirp in there. So especially if you want to get involved, reach out to me directly, whether you ask someone for my phone number, email me or whatever. I run the women's and the junior women's. So I've actually had a few people reach out that are starting some new crews. That's awesome. But yeah, I would say do it. If you're thinking about it, do it. It's so much fun. You will regret the blisters and things a little bit. When you finish a race, whether you win or lose, you just have 11 new friends, your family. It's awesome. Just do it. Just come down and do it.
Yeah. So the hard part is to get involved with dories. A set of oars is $600 now. I think mine was $660. Dude. And it's to get a young kid involved, you got to find somebody that has 2 or 3 sets of oars, right? Seats, footboards, whatever else. It's tough. So you got to find somebody that has a couple sets, that's willing to take you out. So.
Same boat, so just bring a pillow, roll of duct tape.
Yeah, even gigs has a waiting list. So it's the only thing that you really can honestly kind of just jump into. So
Not a bad thought either, though.
yeah.
The wait list is, I think it's over 2 years.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
I would say, I mean, same boats it's tradition. Not everyone in the world can say they do it. Not everyone,
Yeah.
they, it's
So
just,
uniquely Gloucester.
yeah.
So
And then we had like